Hi, in this video, let's create this simple accordion menu in HTML and CSS. Here in my HTML file, I have a div with the class of container, and inside this div, we have a label tag which has a class of title1. Now this label tag is going to form the title of every section within the accordion menu. We also have a span tag nested within this label tag, and the span tag contains an HTML entity for the downward facing arrow, which will indicate that there's some content inside the drop down. At the bottom we have a paragraph tag, and I've given it a class of content box1. So this entire thing is the first section of the accordion menu. Now before adding any more sections to the accordion menu, let's first style the one that we have right here. So I'll go to my CSS file. First, let's give the div with the class of container a width of 80%. Now let's center the div. So I'll give a few styles to the body. I'll give it a height of 100 VH. I'll say display flex, and we'll only center it horizontally. So I'll say justify content center. Next, let's give a display of block to the label element. The next thing we need to do is style the title. So I'll select the class of title1, and I'll give it a background of 3333FF, which is a shade of blue, and we'll also give it a padding, let's say of 10 pixel. We'll give it a font weight of bold. We'll give it a border of 0.5 px solid EEE. Next, let's give it a cursor of pointer, and we'll change the text color to white. Now let's position the downward facing arrow to the extreme right. So we'll select the span element, and we'll give it a position of absolute, and we'll position it at a distance of 15 pixel from the right. However, this needs to be positioned in relation to the class of title1. So we'll come up here and we'll give it a position of relative. And also let's reduce the size of the arrow. So I'll say font size 0.8 EN. The next thing we need to do is we need to style the content box. So I'll select the class of content box 1, and I'll give it a margin of 0 auto, and we'll give it a background of DDD, which is a shade of gray, and we'll also give it a padding on the left, let's say of 10 pixel. Now let's have a look at our accordion menu for a moment. Here we want this content box to be shown only when somebody clicks on this title. However, we won't be using any JavaScript in order to trigger the click event, but instead we'll be using the checkbox. So let's go to our index.html file, and just below the label tag I'm going to add an input tag with a type of checkbox. Now here's what we need. We want this checkbox to be checked when somebody clicks on the title. However, that's not the case right now. So let's see how we can do that. I'll come to my index.html file, and I'll give this input an ID of title1. Now we need to link this input to our label right here. So we'll give this label a for attribute, and we'll add the ID of title 1. Now if we check in our browser, you can see that when I click on the title, the checkbox is checked. When I click on it again, it is unchecked. So the idea is very simple. The idea is to show the content box when the checkbox is checked and to hide it when it is unchecked. So let's go to our CSS file and start working on the same. So let's select the ID of title 1, and when the checkbox is checked, we'll select the adjacent sibling, which is the class of content box 1, and we'll give it a few styles. First, we'll give it a padding of 20 at the top, 0 on the right, 20 at the bottom, and 10 pixels on the left. Also, let's give it a height of 50 pixels. Now let's check it in the browser. Here you can see that the content box is visible even when the checkbox is unchecked. Now in order to correct this, we need to add just a few styles to our class of content box 1. So I'll give this class a height of 0, and in order to hide the text, I'll say overflow hidden. Now let's have a look again. Now you can see that when I click on the title, the content box is visible, and when I click on it again, it is no more visible. Also, let's add in some transition. So I'll give this class of content box 1 a transition of all, and the duration is going to be 0.5 seconds. Now let's have a look in the browser. Here we have some smooth transition, and finally we don't want the checkbox to be seen. So right here at the bottom, I'll say input display none. Now let's check it, and the checkbox is seen no more. And finally it's time to add in 2 more sections to our accordion menu. So let's do that. Let's go to our index.html file, and I'll simply copy the entire thing starting from the label tag and ending at the paragraph, and I'll paste it 2 more times. Now there are just a few changes we need to make. This becomes title 2, and this becomes class title 2. We need to change this from first to second. This becomes ID title 2, and this becomes content box 2. Finally, this becomes title 3. Becomes title 3 again. I'll change the first to third. This becomes title 3, and this becomes content box 3. And finally there are just a few additions we need to make to our CSS. So I'll go to my CSS file, and here we'll add the class of title 2 and the class of title 3. At the bottom, here we'll add the class of content box 2 and content box 3. Finally, we just need to copy this and paste it 2 more times. This becomes title 2, this becomes content box 2, and this is title 3 and content box 3. So these are the changes we need to make, and now let's have a look in the browser. And here we have our accordion menu ready. So this was an easy way of creating an accordion menu using HTML and CSS. So hope you liked the video. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, have a nice day.